You're listening to the Real Estate Radio Hour, the show that brings you unfiltered stories and insight from the Twin Cities real estate world with your hosts, Chris Rooney, broker at RE/MAX Preferred, and Andy Presky, leader of the Preferred Home Team at RE/MAX Advantage Plus.
Woohoo! Let's go.
Let's go.
Whoa.
Hey, Nick, where did you get that photo of rocking on Reed's Island with all those boats? You got to show Andy that one. I don't know if you saw it at the beginning. There's a picture. Yeah, that one. Can you bring that up? That Andy. Did you see that?
Yeah, that was neat.
That's actually right outside. That's really close to my house. But they do it once a year. They do a thing called Rocking on Reed's. It's Reed's Island. And all the boats come out and they have like 3 bands the whole day. Pretty fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, I got some nostalgia here.
Uh-oh.
Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out. Welcome back.
Oh.
Whoa.
The only one we didn't get to see was Denny Long.
Yeah. We should do a field trip out to Denny's house.
So Nick, they had the Dennis, who was he's kind of behind this. What's he do?
Engineer.
He's the engineer, yeah.
Yep.
He's engineer. And so he had no clue we were coming. He's like, oh, he saw us, it was all good. Andy looks over, and there he has Andy's mug still. I mean, we haven't been on that show for is it 3 years now?
Over 3, yeah.
Yeah, he's still got the Prasky mug. It's hilarious.
I couldn't even explain how excited that got me.
I know.
Well, but it goes to prove a point. You know, I mean, like, when you have things that are a little nicer, people don't throw them away to keep them. I mean, I hate to admit this. I probably learned a little bit of that from you. Yeah. Like when you give out a pen, people go, oh my God, this is a nice pen, and they keep it versus the, oh, thanks, click, and they throw it in their purse or whatever. And yeah.
Yeah, a $1 pen versus a $3 pen is a big difference. People hang on to them. I get clients asking me for my pens. Yeah. Which is really quite interesting. But if you're top of mind, I mean, that thing sits out on his desk every day. He uses it every day, he said. So
I think that's so funny because, like, we were, well, it was fun anyway. It was very nostalgic for me. I don't know about you, Chris, but just kind of heading back down there. It felt kind of good. You know, check it out. It's still this, I mean, literally, like the song says, it's the same old place that you laughed about. And it is. It is. No, I mean, nothing has changed.
Except
It's crazy.
except 3 microphones didn't work.
They could put a few more dollars back into the equipment for sure.
We-
But I mean, it was kind of funny. I don't know if you noticed, but like there's a picture or a frame that goes into the engineering office where they I think they call that whatever. It's where they have all their computers. And there was a set of glasses up there. Those are still I've heard those are still Dark Star's glasses from one of the last times he was on air. And he used to leave his glasses up there. And so it's a nostalgic thing that I went in there. First thing I go, oh my God, that's even still here. You know?
What's called Odyssey now. So for people that don't know, we were on our old radio time slot this last Saturday on WCCO. And it was nice enough. Mike Overson and Ryan O'Neill had us on there. And it was fun. They were very smart, though, to make us share a microphone. Otherwise, they never would have spoke.
I watched back they put out, of course, their version of the their Facebook Live, and I was laughing. I'm like, oh my God, I am a spaz. I was bouncing around and hugging people and pointing at the microphones and the cameras, and I was like, dude, I need to. I don't know what weed's like, but I probably need some. I'm probably like that legalized guy that should get some and just chill out a little bit before I get. I don't know. I just felt good. Room of good people, lots of good vibes there, and just it felt reminiscent. And I don't know, I probably went a little overboard.
Andy, what about that flight home from Vegas one time? Whatever you took on that flight, that's definitely settled you down.
Yeah, I could probably work some out with my doctor.
Yeah. We should have seen it, Nick. I mean, all of a sudden he turned into like this zombie. I mean, he doesn't like to fly. I'm like, oh my God, I got to get some more of that drug and flip it in his soda.
Hey man, I'm easy. I'll do whatever you want. No, it was I take those for flights.
What were you gonna say?
Good time, huh?
You were gonna say something and I interrupted you.
No, I was just saying I'm happy you guys had a good time, but I think it's better if people get to see you or your weekly face on air. But did you tell the fans, the people listening, that you're still rocking it with this podcast? Let's get some of those WCCO listeners over here.
Did you kind of feel like that weird like divorced guy in front of his ex-wife introducing your new wife kind of a thing? It was kind of that awkward like we're like, hey, we're the Real Estate Radio Hour, always have been, always will be. I think we made mention that we were still on every week, and look us up. Didn't we, Chris? I don't remember.
Remember Ryan O'Neill was talking about our little reels. He watches our reels. He wants to be in one of our reels, by the way.
Well, one of my reels is broke like 11,000 views.
Really?
It was the one about Hennepin County is too much crime and people are sick of it. People love like rage baits. They love rage.
Is where it's at.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Rock and roll, boys. What's going on in this market here?
Look at that. We got a good morning.
Obviously,
I have
security in my office.
I have an article from Bankrate about Minnesota housing market, but obviously it's for the public, so it's not as up to date as you guys know. So I want you to check it out, talk about it, and then say if you think things are different, and get the people the main scoop.
Sure.
So give me one.
This is what we should have background music for sure.
We should. Okay, July of 2023. Yeah, 342. Okay, that's a 0.9% jump from last year. Still, it's a fair bit cheaper than the national median. So we're a little under that, quite a bit. 50-some thousand, 60,000. The amount of closed sales down 19%. Listings are down 14.6%. Doesn't it feel like there's more listings on the market, Andy? But there's not.
Chris, this is the difference between reviewing data and living in data.
Yeah.
You and I live in data every day, right? So we are on, and I'm not trying to sound crazy, but we're on the front edge of that. So when we're out like helping clients or we're doing like I've done 4 markets this week alone where I'm looking at it going, God, there's still nothing for sale in some areas. But the pricing on those listings, we still have to be honest, or they don't get scooped up. And, so I do feel there's more inventory around us. Yes.
But I had 2 listings that both had multiple offers on it and went far over list price. So I mean,
Wow.
it's still, I know it's crazy, it's still happening, but
Yeah.
anyways, okay, the sales to list price ratio in Minnesota is a little over a full price, meaning that they're it's a slight drop from 101 versus 100.1.
Yep.
28 days on the market before they're sold, up from 25 days. That's I think, I don't know. To me, it's not like the first week or the first weekend if it doesn't sell. It's not like, oh my gosh, it's terrifying. I think people are just giving it a little, let's think about it. We are paying a higher interest rate now. Maybe the rates will come down by the end of the week. Maybe we'll wait. Let's see if something else comes on type thing versus just jumping just to try to get something. So the market timing is, to me, I mean, I think after 3 weeks, you got to start wondering what's going on and where you're priced. But I mean, that's what I do after all of our little podcasts here on Thursdays is I review kind of what my listings are doing, kind of see what's out in the market, and then make suggestions because I want to go into the weekend fully loaded if we need to be.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that the market will react differently. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, when it comes right down to it, I think that we're in a market where there's just not enough inventory. So when there's not enough of the widget that everybody wants to buy, even if there's a limited amount of people now buying those widgets because rates went up or whatever your justification is, I do think that we're actually in a position of where the market will keep kind of plucking along and everybody's waiting for it to go way up or way down. And I don't know if we're going to see that for a while. I think we kind of all of the things I'm reading right now from interest rates, everybody's like, oh, next year they're going to go down. I'm not a big subscriber to that yet. I don't feel it yet. And so I think rates will lay flat. I think you're going to have people that have to moving. So you'll see some of the inventory that's out there releasing. I think that you'll see some people that say, hey, you know what? We're going to sell this executive house. We want to go to a 55 plus community, whatever. And they're just trying to live life. Right. So it's like, I don't really see this like, and then the other side of the articles I've been hearing is where they talk about all these people that are consumer debt. They're just fools with credit and their credit lines are maxed out and they have $2,000 a month car payments and they have, all these crazy things going on and that they're going to need that equity from their house just to survive. And it's like, you know what? Most people that have the ability, the means in today's market to get a mortgage are ridiculously responsible. You don't realize the constraints that we have right now on getting a mortgage. It's not easy. So when they do get a mortgage, they're responsible. They have great equity positions in their houses. And then has the cost of living gone up around all of us? Yes. How do people adjust? A lot of times they float that on their variable credit lines or disposable whatever, and they have less money to blow on vacations because now they're just trying to keep up with life. So I think the first rollout of this economy is going to be where you see people cutting back on travel. You're going to see people cutting back on some of those extras just to keep up with the cost of the day-to-day goods. But I mean, we've kind of been seeing that over the last year. I don't know.
I think
I kind of feel like, I don't know.
I think buyers too are almost getting to the point of, rates are what they are. We got to deal with it. Let's go. And it's almost that, you can sit and wait forever and ever, but I think there's some stability in their minds that things aren't really going to change. And so we might as well jump in when we can, understand that it's probably going to be 2-3 years before I'm going to refinance. But again, you start looking at that and, let's just say on a $500,000 loan, if it's 1% higher, then it's $5,000 a year of interest. That's what you're paying, so almost 400 and some dollars a month, a little about $420 a month to be able to get into what it is. So then they start justifying it. And then it's like, you know what? We do have 2 car payments here, both at $1,000. Why don't we get rid of one of them and go down to a car that's maybe bought and paid for? Or get rid of that third car. Maybe you have a Sprinter, Mercedes Sprinter, and you're like, forget that. Do I really need that?
Those are crazy.
That's my office though. That's an office expense.
Yeah.
So you have to have it. But
of course.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think we're seeing like over the open houses this last weekend. That's what I was hearing. I was just kind of like, you know what? It's time. let's do it. And where I was at was a lifestyle type listing. And when I talk about lifestyle, it's like this one's on acreage. It has a pole building, it has a pool. I mean, that's kind of your life. You have things you like to do or cars you like to collect. I mean, having that building is an amazing thing in which to have. Now the pool, all of a sudden your house becomes the entertainment place. And obviously you have a house, and if it's close in acreage, I mean, those are good things. And I think we're getting more action at some of those bigger ones than we're getting at some of the smaller ones. Price points.
Agreed. I mean, a lot of that is driven by, Chris, in talking about the market we're in right now. I think it was the stat last month was in the Twin Cities, 28% of the houses that were purchased were cash. So, I mean, I'm telling you guys, there's a lot of people out there with cash, and that's probably your high end, your top of the market kind of buyers, and they're not worried about payments. That's why interest rates don't affect them. But what interest rates do affect are their yields on their other investments. And so they start saying, you know what, let's get into this instead of that. At least we can live in this investment. And so you see people shifting their money around right now. The buyer that has 100% or 5% down, I consider that to be 100% financing, by the way, just for the record. I've seen markets swing 10%. So under 10% is zero down to me. Yeah. But, they put their money in, and those are the vulnerable buyers. Those are the ones that are, hey, they've got 3 months of reserves. If they go beyond that without a job, they're in trouble. But that represents less than 30% of the housing market right now. Yeah. And I think that back in 2006, when you look at some of that stuff started coming at us, the failure rates were, it was like, when we drove down the street, it was something crazy like 3 out of every 10 houses was in foreclosure. I mean, it was crazy. It was like the numbers were staggeringly scary, or they were in the process of being filed upon or whatever. And now you drive down the streets and 4 out of 10 houses are paid for free and clear. And 35% beyond that have what they call substantial equity, which is over 50%. So, people that are in a good spot like that tend to clam up. They don't say, oh, let's panic sell. Houses might go down 50 grand next year. Let's sell our $600,000 house on the lake. They don't do that. They hold. And then that tightens up the market even more. And so I truly believe until you see this market start feeling a little more stable, like I say, take the waves off the lake. And then you'll even see some of those properties loosening up and selling because they have to have a place to live. So if you sell the beautiful place on the lake, what are you going to replace it with? You don't want to get ripped off. You don't want to do an equal change where this was one of my customers a couple of years ago. This dentist I had working had a property on the river, sold the property on the river, which granted it needed a little help, right? And then they moved to a detached slab on grade townhouse. Spent almost the same amount of money what they sold the river house for to move into that house. But now everything's brand new, shiny, one level, easy living, but it's like, I don't blame them. I would have struggled with that decision too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, the last thing was about the closing costs going up 1.4%. So chat on that. But also I wanted to bring this up because this is a recent article here for the public, right? And I wanted to show like that, you guys are ahead of the curve and that you have different kind of information that the public should be careful what they read that just comes out.
Yeah. I'll tell you, it's interesting too. Getting opinions from realtors, I think, is a big thing. Getting more than one. I just was told on one of the houses that we got multiple offers on that my price came in $110,000 higher than what the other person's was, and I was being kind of conservative, and so I'm like, what? I mean, and that's not at a big price point either. I mean, that's under $400,000. And so that's a big difference. So you might want to make sure you check with a couple people or, but I think, don't you think, Andy, that consumers have a real good feel for where the price is because of all the different websites that are out there too?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'd say this all the time, information's everywhere, but is it accurate? Right. So they're getting their own information and they're, obviously holding their own opinion. That's why I always ask when I go out on a listing presentation, you'll hear it from me if you ever call me to list your house. I'm going to say, what is your expectation for a sale price? And explain it to me. And then I'll go into what I have researched. I present my information. I say, now decide based on what I found, it's accurate, real, and actual tangible, right? To what you saw out there in the public. And do we still agree on the price that you were shooting for? Because, a lot of people say, you tell me what the price is, and they hire the realtor based on the price of the house. And that's the wrong thing to do. Because anybody can lie to you and say it's worth $1 billion. And then they list the house. They're listing that house because they have nothing else going on in that situation where they'll overprice it just to see if they can get lucky and get you to reduce it to the point of where it'll sell. I always take into consideration the real estate agent that presents the facts that show tangible, hey, these are all slab on grade, 3-bedroom, 3-bath, detached townhouses that are maintained within 1 mile, within, 6 months or a year of right now of listing and being sold. And those are exact comps. Those exact comps are what I'm using to calculate these numbers. If we were buying one of these houses, wouldn't you want that information? A lot of people kind of look at you and go, well, I don't know, but that's when you got to do it. You can't just say, hey, a 2-bedroom is the same value as a 3-bedroom in a townhouse. It's not.
Yeah.
And 3-bedrooms always sell better. That's why when you hear me saying, hey, let's go buy a townhouse, let's buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage or more. And they always sell, right?
And unit versus middle unit, north facing versus south facing, extra parking versus no parking. Backing up to a road, back into the development. But I was going to say, for the agents that are listening out there, Andy, when is it that you ask that seller that question? Is it before you even go out there?
Yeah.
So when you're setting up the appointment, you ask their expectation of price?
Yes. And because sometimes I got to be honest with you, I won't even take an appointment. Why? If I think a house is going to be 600 to 700 and they come in, we're $1.3 million. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm like, and I'll look up the numbers. I'm like, and I'll call them back before I have the appointment. And I'll just say, hey, I'm really, really, really struggling here with your value. Where are we at? And so that's why a lot of these buyers don't want to give me the value up front. But I'm like, I need to know what your expectations are. I'm going to tell you what I think, regardless if you want it or not. I'm going to come out there and show you the data that supports my opinion. But I need to know what your expectations are, because right now, expectations, I think here's a perfect example. House last year lists at 400. They get offered 425 because it was a crazy market. Rates were at 3.5%, whatever it was. So they get 425. Now the neighbor down the street's trying to list at 425 in today's number, or a little bit higher. They go to 435. That's not where we're at, because they say, well, the house has appreciated, 4% in the last year. I don't think those 425s are where we need to be. The house was at 400. You need to be 5% above that 400. So you might be at 420 right now instead of 425 or 435. And so if you take that honest strategy to the marketplace, we get multiple offers. We get tons of showings. You get great exposure, great offers, and you're a win-win, because then you're actually beating the marketplace. This, when you break down a comparable sale, the one thing that the software doesn't do for you is it doesn't break down the concessions that were made. It doesn't break down how many closing costs were paid. It doesn't break down, like, for an example, I think the MLS, if they really want to start doing us a service, and this is, if you're listening, Johnny, this would be great. Mr. Mosley, he's a good friend of ours from way back. Adding in there what the house appraised at should be recorded by the appraisers, because I think that's a very valid number to be put in there, number one. And then we should also have to the public the concessions that were made, so that it shows a net, what did they actually get out of that house? Because at the end of the day, if the house appraised lower and they had to give a $30,000 concession out of their pocket, but they kept the purchase price higher, right, and they recorded it that way, that's false, right?
Well, I had a house that I sold. Every bit of furniture went with it, and there's a couple $100,000 worth of stuff. I mean, really nice, but that's nowhere.
So we add another line that says personal property that was forgiven and or included, and a value of personal property left behind. Those are valid, very valid disruptors in what's being done out there. So, these people, or like, for an example, hey, when it was over list price, how was that written? Was it written with a cash guarantee and somebody wrote above and beyond and that's cash and now that's a new market? Or was that just a immediate, like, holy crap, I'm going to try to lock in these 3% rates before they go up to 7%, and I'm going to pay more because I'll save that in the first 2 years just in my payment alone, and I plan on living here for a while. So that's honestly, the strategy behind it was brilliant when people were paying a little bit more to get them.
You really sound like an appraiser trying to justify his price right now. Just saying.
Yeah, but you know what? At the end of the day, when I'll just be honest with you.
How many times has that been used against you, though? Oh, they paid cash.
That's what I'm saying. It's such BS. Like, you get like Zillow, and Zillow will sit there and say, here's our automatic evaluation. Zero credibility. Even in the fine print, it says that they're off by 14% plus or minus, depending on the city that you're in. And it's because they're using information off of a website. Well, usually it's the county website. How accurate is the county website in some counties? Some counties, it's right on the money. Some, it's not even close. Like some of these markets I do, I always reference that too, because what I do is when I reference the tax value, for an example, or the county, whatever, wherever you get your tax value at the government level, that's where they pull a lot of that information from. So you'll sit there and it'll look like a 2-story without a finished basement. You actually have a 2-story with a finished basement and a pool, and you're on the lake. All those things don't go into the equation when it says that your house is worth $750. Your house may be worth $1 million because it's the nicest lot, the best pool. You put a waterfall in. You got all this other stuff that people will pay for, and it actually, may or may not add value in the opinion of others. But if it doesn't add value in their opinion, then they'll buy another house, right? So it's like, but for the right buyer, they will pay for it. Anyway, that's my beef with all these auto evaluators online. I think they should be held accountable. And I think that, when these people are saying, here's a Zestimate or here's our opinion of your value, it should have to show the math.
Nice. Hey, I got some social media reacts, but first I want you to guess where this video is taking place in Minnesota. It's pretty. It's kind of a friend of mine who made it.
Kind of a friend. What kind of friend is that?
Oh, I've never met him in person, just online.
Okay. An internet friend. That's what it is.
I don't know if I have any internet friends, Chris, named Silky, but how about you?
2 of them. Do you have any idea where that is?
No, but boy, it had my wheels spinning, man. Because I was going at first, I go, maybe that's Calhoun or Lake of the Isles when it had the fountains going.
Yeah,
and then also
that barn kind of threw it off.
What's that?
That barn kind of threw it off.
The farm threw me off completely. And then I go, oh man, wait a minute. Is this and then I looked at the lake.
Albert Lee.
Longer and skinnier, so it wasn't.
I'm going with Albert Lee. I got it.
Minnewaska, or I don't know.
Is there a lake in Albert Lee? I think there is.
Yeah, that's Albert Lee.
Yes. Do you see the hint,
Okay,
Andy? Over
weird. Son and the offspring have the same answer. Weird.
You should know. You should know on our little side notes there. Cody Scherf, the man, the myth down in Arizona, is where he's from originally. It's Albert Lee.
Silky.
No, that's not Cody. That's Cody's friend. But what do you think
Cody's
about
friend.
that? Albert Lee gets kind of a bad reputation, kind of a stopover type city on 35, but that looked pretty beautiful.
I don't know if it gets a bad reputation, but that is opportunity. Things like that, where if you say, hey, that market isn't as great, and maybe there's not as much business down there. We were talking last week, what you do as the governor, those are the kind of things that you're talking about. Is if I've got good internet and stuff, and I could be in Albert Lee. I mean, if you want to be out that far, that's another thing. But there's some beautiful towns. I mean, you could get huge acreage for a little money, get on a lake. I remember I had talked to Cody about Albert Lee, and he was saying you could get stuff for $500,000. Well, I mean, now, around here, it's very hard to get anything under $1 million on like a metro lake. Really hard.
Well, hell, even up in Alex, it's hard. Or you find it, and it's $1 million, and it's junk.
Yeah.
And it's like, good golly.
Yeah.
And me. Whoa, that was a fun video. Let's go back to that.
Let's do it.
And me, the groove, and my friends are gonna try to move your feet. You see, I am Wonder Mike, and I like to say.
That was shot up in one of my territories.
So many things to say on that one. Yes.
Yeah.
So many things to say.
That was Sandy County.
That's one. That is one of the things. A big negative about listing a home that's the renters are still in, because there is no incentive for them to be able to get out and move. They don't want someone to buy it; they have to go. So, if you're going to sell a rental property, I highly, highly, highly encourage people to remove the renters, clean it completely out, dress it up, and get it sold. So,
well, we've talked about this before. I've always encouraged people to say, hey, for every showing we have, we'll take $50 off your rent this month. But we want you out of the property. We want the property clean. We want it smelling good. I want all the lights on. And if you want that $50, it's yours. Sometimes there's 3 in a row and one night. And,
base it on feedback from the other agents. But that is true. Or my next thing I was going to say is incentivize the renter or the tenant. And sometimes you can just do it at the end and say, you know what? If I sell this thing, I'll give you $5,000 a move allowance to be able to go to the next place. I'm telling you, it's way, 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 way worth it.
I agree.
Way.
Well, way scientific, Chris. So what does it mean to us laymen?
That's a lot.
Okay, good.
That's 2 words, a lot. Yeah.
If I could go back to 20 years ago, there is one major thing I would have done differently. I bought my first house at 22 years old. I thought I was killing it because I was told that your home is the greatest investment you can ever make. Now that I'm 40 and our company owns over 8,000 units of storage and multifamily, I definitely wouldn't have bought that house. I would have totally skipped it. Instead, I would have bought a 4-unit apartment, not 5, because anything over 40 units is considered commercial. So if you keep it below that, you can qualify for first-time home buying programs like an FHA loan. It allows you to put as little as 3.5% down. I would have used other tenants' income to help me qualify, and I would have other people help me pay my mortgage, either a portion of it or entirely. You have to live in it for a year, too easy. Then I would have moved out and boom, had my first cash flowing asset.
Yeah, those are everywhere, by the way. You should have your local realtor run a search on 4-unit apartment buildings and see how many there are.
Yeah. I think
cities don't approve them. They don't want them. You see a lot of those. Like I see them in Fridley, Brooklyn Center. There's a couple in Champlin where they're like 8-unit apartment buildings, but that's as small as you generally will see.
You know what that video did to me? It said the question to me that what would I have done different 20 years ago? And in my case, it's probably 30 years ago now. But I'm going to ask that question to you, Andy. What would you have done? I mean, what would you have done at beginning before you bought your first house? When did you buy your first house?
When I was 21.
Okay. So what would you have done different if you could go back and do it?
Probably stayed in school and became a doctor. And you
got your kids doing that now.
Yeah.
They're doing
my kids
They're living your life for you. Oh.
Yeah. No, I think the idea there was that if I could go back in time and restart the clock, there's a lot of different things that I think over the years I was scared of in markets where I would allow my nerves to take over my wallet, and I'd recede back versus I should have been investing in. And I think that now, as I hate to say this, but I'm kind of sitting back right now, waiting for that opportunity to pounce on now because I'm ready. I actually feel stable. I have finances that are, in a position of where I'm lucky enough to do that stuff. And if I saw that opportunity, I could seize it now. A couple years ago, it wasn't, 20 years ago, I was just lucky to get my first house and saved up my deposit and bought a $100,000 house, put $20,000 down, which was insane. So my payment was like, I don't remember, it was like $600 a month on my house. And I had it rented. I had a bedroom rented upstairs and I was almost paying for the whole payment. And I thought I was just like him. I thought I had the world by its, tail. But in hindsight, I don't know, I'm not a big rental storage unit, whatever guy. Cause like right now, some of those units are being called due in the notes. So if they're financing a lot of that stuff, which I'm sure they did, you don't buy 8,000 units with striking a check. Usually are leveraged, or you have partnerships, or you have other things that are put into the equation they're not telling us about. And everybody expects a return, including the bank. And if the return's not there, people want out. And so there's a lot of stress with that stuff too. It's not like he owns himself 8,000 units. And if he does, God bless him. You know what I mean? But I would highly doubt that he does.
Probably got a company that does.
Yeah. And when somebody's on the internet, no offense, but they're selling something. So what is he selling you? His class on how to do it like he did it?
But here's the thing. I think, I look back and say 30 years ago, what I would have done is probably exactly what this guy ended up doing, was using other people's money. That's what they do. I mean, that's how you get 8,000 units. I mean, I saved up all my pennies and purchased something and then waited for the next pennies I saved up to try to buy something else and get other people which to pay for it, which were renters. And, from that point on, you kind of get in this little I don't know. First of all, storage units, they don't get COVID. Storage units don't do drugs typically. Storage units don't mouth off. You know, I like the idea of that storage unit too, because to me, it's cyclical. I mean, I could see it being cyclical and going out, but if you do it right and you price it right, everyone needs storage. And
I
huge
know
thing right now.
Yeah, I had a couple of attorney buddies of mine that have made a huge business out of doing that. They were buying the old Kmart's and that kind of, big retail box that nobody else wanted and turning it into internal, inside.
That's a good idea.
Storage.
Wow.
Yeah. And it works. They're printing money.
That's why I just look at all these malls, these dead malls. Burnsville Center. I drove around there. I parked there the other day, and I'm looking at. I'm like, oh my gosh, half this mall is dead. I mean, and there's boxed windows, there's graffiti. I mean, it's just like, what the hell happened? And to me, I think you could do something really cool in there. And I would create it like a 55 and older type thing, where they have places to be able to walk, but then have services that do that and have living area in there. Redo the old J.C. Penney's into condos, put a clinic in there, put an eye doctor in there, put all their services where other people can come to them. We can come up and go right through the back door. But these people, I mean, you ever go into Burnsville Center? I mean, now I haven't been there for a while, but my dad used to do it. They used to walk around in the winter all the time. Yeah. It was a way to do it. And I mean, it was packed, and the little area in the bottom was, full of life. And now you get one or two restaurants in there. It's just sad.
Sure.
But we got investments, Andy. Let's do them.
Yeah.
You said you got money. Let's do it.
I didn't say that, did I?
Oh,
because I didn't mean to say it that way.
I
just said I'm ready.
You said I've saved so much money. I've got so much money. I can do anything I want right now. So let's try it. That's what I heard.
It's hard to hide those facts, Chris. I'm just loaded. These drawers are full of cash. Yeah,
totally. I mean, look at that new sign you got, for God's sake.
That is the most. I've gotten more attention with that stupid sign behind me over here.
Not anyone gets that sign. That's for sure.
I want to get a real estate radio hour one right over here and get rid of the old AP. Ego's been stroked enough. I need some advertising. So.
All right, let's get into our luxury segment, Minnesota luxury real estate. This one's in Eden Prairie.
I just was wondering if he could put like dollar signs rather than that little preferred home team logo, put like dollar signs.
Yeah. I'll order that one.
Okay.
It's brought to you by Chris Rooney Home Experts.
I was just 1 year old when my family started in real estate, where both my parents were agents. They also dabbled in investing in real estate, rentals, flips, and construction. After college, I went right into getting my license in July of 1990. As a 23-year-old agent in an industry that looks nothing like today, I had to know more for my clients to choose me. There wasn't Zillow or social media to tell them how good I was. I had to win them over with knowledge. With knowledge comes confidence, and with confidence comes results.
Ooh, that looks like a fun house to have a party in.
Sold.
That's the one we looked at last week, wasn't it?
No. This one, Eden Prairie.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, I need to see the front of this house before I make comments. There's something they're hiding from me.
Listing.
Oh, look at this. Where is that? Andy. Why is it way down here?
Uh-oh. It's not that ugly. I'd have that as a...
No,
that's a nice looking house.
For $2 million, though, that's that back is a $3 million type thing. But I think you gotta, let's see. It doesn't feel like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wonder if they did any twilight photos of the front as well, just because what you want to do is you just don't want to, they put it at the very end. A reason for that. It's smart. You got to go after the moneymaker, which that is. But I think you have to also try to take away, like, maybe where is it stopping? I don't. How long has that one been on the market, Nick? I think I've seen this one. Does it say on the how long it's been on? A little further down. There we go. 68 days. Okay. So, it's Platsky, which is he's a good agent. He does a lot of stuff in Eden Prairie, so they know the market well. Is there a map with that one? I think that one's right by Pioneer Trail. If that's which
what are you
is
diagnosing here, doctor?
just you have to. Let's see. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So it backs up to Pioneer Trail. So that's not the best thing in which to be able to do, but there's a lot of decent houses over
Who's
there.
kidding who? Who wants to buy a $2 million house that backs up to a busy road?
Yeah, it's not
This guy.
it's not super busy there. It's kind of a really cool drive, but let me see the inside now. Sorry, this is how I
You
analyze.
take your time. This is great.
I immediately. I mean, I try to get a quick. Oh, hold on, slow down. They did do the front pictures there in a. Okay, there. So they did do a twilight, but it just doesn't give the same feel as the other one. I don't know.
He's got about a $500,000 garage door on there right now. That all cedar, real wood garage doors are like.
Oh yeah.
Are they 22,000 for the big one and probably
That's 20 grand all day long for those garage doors? Yeah.
Yeah, 35 grand in garage doors right there.
All right, let's see inside. So we are a little 2006-ish. It looks like
pizza oven. I'm in.
Yeah, look at that painting. I think that if we could.
The Prasky boys would have a good time at that house.
I bet they would.
Oh yeah.
Boy, look at that eating counter. It sounds fun. Looks fun.
Yeah.
God, there's a lot of details in there.
Yeah, it's a nice house.
Wow. Yeah. Just keep going. I mean, obviously, the colors and everything are probably not 2023, but it's hard. It's really hard getting people to paint those, though. I mean, because they've spent a lot of money on getting that painted.
I still have. I can't. Well, we just painted our daughter's room a couple years ago, where we had the gal come in and she hand painted all the little cute butterflies and flowers everywhere, and we spent I don't remember how many crazy amount of dollars on it, and then did pillars in our bathroom, and then people go, "You have pillars in your bathroom? What is it, a Roman tub?" And I go, "Yes, it is."
Yeah.
But it's cool, man. I mean, that's that personal touch that before you sell, some people will say, paint it white or paint it gray and take some of this, warmth out of this house. It's too warm,
The other thing is about Eden Prairie is that you have a lot of homes in this price point, from a standpoint that you really get a lot for your money. So if you're looking at that home perspective from Bloomington, I mean, it's amazing. But from an Eden Prairie standpoint, it's another house. You have choices. You got Bear Path. There's a lot of areas along the riverfront, and so there's just a lot of choices, and a lot of people built those big houses, or some newer ones that are out there as well. And I think that's what it's going to compete against. I mean, you got to get over the road, the back of the road. I think you got to get over that front appearance, and then the idea of that being dated. So,
well, I think that Chris, for me, like when somebody's looking at this house, obviously, and you've got a budget of $2 million for a home, you have lots of options. So why is this the best option? I think they need to start focusing on, instead of showing off the way they live there, they should start looking at like adding in lifestyle. They should start punching in on some of these other features that will pull people in. Like, don't just show a pool party, or show what I'm saying? It's like that. I think that there needs to be something that sells that house as being with your budget. Instead of buying on Prairie Lake for $2 million and finding a nice house for $2 million, why would you go to Eden Prairie and look at a busy road? And it's not, people don't buy them just because they're big. 6,800 square feet, big deal. I mean, that just shows that the house is probably proportionally well, designed, but it's like, it doesn't mean that it's good design either. I mean? So that's the other thing is, I don't know. I'd take a look at all of that, and I'd look at, it has a very classic, darker, warmer, cozy. That house would probably sell better in the winter, being it's so warm and cozy like it is, versus the summer. That's probably why they've struggled here a little bit as well.
Let's just say they spent a ton of money.
Oh God, this. Yeah.
I mean, even those drapes alone. But but for some people, I mean, look at the furniture, for God's sakes. They got a lot of money into this, but it's a particular style that someone wants. And it's really hard from a real estate standpoint to go in there and change that. Gosh, that almost looks like a alley in Italy. Go back to the other picture.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? This
Yes.
right there along that whole stairway, and
Yep.
how they have that. It's almost like, you see that brick?
That's probably
little
exactly what they're
mold
trying to
at the
do.
top.
Chris. If you look at their photos, that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So creating that, and that, I mean, you're going for a very particular person, and it's very hard to go in there and try to get that all switched around. And it's sometimes you got to kind of feel it, and because there's someone that might go absolutely bonkers over that house. But it's just, I mean, look at that. That's furniture style, all built in there.
Yeah, they got a photo on the left from Venice, and then on the right, that's a city nearby, a smaller, non-touristy one.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Italy.
yeah. So I just think you got to get a real particular person to buy this place. They'll think it's the greatest value in the world, and there's others that are probably not even going to go look at it
What
because
about that ceiling? What is that?
it's like a
It
copper.
looks like it's copper.
Yeah.
Like they used to do that in the old houses. The tin, they'd put the tin ceilings up in the old bars and stuff.
And Lucky 13's has got that. Yeah.
Yeah, very nice house. I gotta be honest with you, I can see where they're kind of pinning into a certain style, and if that's not your style, this house won't work.
I think you got to go that style for everything they've done in there. I think it would be too expensive to try to switch that style. And I bet you that's what they came up with. Now that I see the tiles and stuff on the walls, I mean, look at all that.
Look at that stonework. I mean, they've got $25,000 worth of stonework in this room.
Yeah, I mean, the money is crazy.
Yeah,
that one might be, Andy, where you market it. You might want to try to include the furniture and stuff, because that's kind of like it's one thing to be able to buy a house like that that's decorated like that. The other thing is you got to furnish it, and most people don't have those furnishings. So if you could probably try to include those furnishings, I think that would be a big thing.
So I'll be honest with you. I think some of the arches, arches kind of, I don't know why I feel like they're dated, but that was a big 90s, early 2000s. Everything was arched, right? We get it. It takes craftsmanship. It's cool. But arches are kind of out. And it's just, and I have a house with arches in them. I get it. And so I look at some of that stuff and I go, okay, how can we bring this a little closer to like this is a little more modern, where they have the painted walls versus everything being sponge painted. And I'm not trying to say get the sponge paint out, but I'd probably take some of that stuff out and neutralize the house a little bit. Now, is that boring, that last picture? Yes, but some people like vanilla ice cream. Not everybody needs the Lollapalooza with all 30 flavors of ice cream in it to be excited. So, I think that there's that house. I would take a real hard look at bringing in a couple interior designers and saying like, hey, what can we do for, let's say 30, 50,000, and get that basement neutralized into a more modern, like you'd see during the builders fall parade homes, like right now, last weekend, by the way. Could you get that into that air? And I think you could. And I think it would reward you immensely. And then people are also scared of stucco. That's another thing. You look at the back of that house, and I heard nightmare stories about, and it's not true. Stucco is a fantastic product, and it actually does too good of a job. It's the way the windows are treated. The water usually gets in through the windows and gets in the back. And so if you take a look at like that, and you had your stucco re-evaluated, and I'm telling you, I've had houses where I've said, you almost want to take all that stucco off. And they're like, no way, I'm not going to do it. But it is the people that don't spend the time to understand it, because they're clicking along online and they go, oh, no way, no way, no way. That might get you more clicks get you more showings get you offers.
You want my opinion on what to do?
Yes.
Even if you don't, you're going to hear it.
Yeah.
But my opinion is that I think you got to ride with what they have there. But I think you have to take some of those areas and lighten them up, and then get some of that decor down or less furniture. And so, because the other part is, even someone who really likes that, I could see walking through that house. There was an office, I think Nick was pointing it out, that there was like letters and old things on the walls. I mean, I'd spend a lot of time reading that stuff and not looking at the house. And so I think that's a big thing, is to be able to kind of get that a little less. What do we got here? Yeah, it sold in 2006 for $1,259,000. These guys put tons of work in it since then, I'll tell you that. So that I don't think $2 million to me on that and what it has is actually really inexpensive. And Andy made a really good point too, where he said, well, it's $2 million here, or go on Prairie Lake and get $2 million. Well, what you can do, and that's what people do on the lake, they get to a point where these houses, $2 million, you're like, really? But yeah, that's what you're getting for them. And now I can go buy that. And now I have another lifestyle. And you know what? I'm across the river. I've got a pool. Everything's done. I live in a Italian villa, really is what it is. And that's a good area. There's comparable homes around there as well. So that's
and I look at it too, like cars, right? I mean, you have, cars are like a normal size house, let's say it's 1,800 square feet. Now you make a bigger car that's like the Super Expedition XL, whatever, but not everybody needs that space. So when you build that big or buy that big and then you remodel that big and that specific, you're kind of painting yourself into a box. So unfortunately for you, and I hate to be so tough on this guy, or gal, but when you paint yourself into that type of a box, you made that decision when you did that stuff, you might have to drop that price down to 1.79, and then boom, it'll go. $200,000.
That's what I'm saying. You got to ride with it. I think you got when I say you got to ride with it, it's like you got to ride with it, and sometimes that ride goes downhill. But I don't think you can switch everything in there, because I don't think it would. You can't make that a mid-century modern type house, or you can't make that traditional type place. It won't work. And so I think you got to find the right person and then just see what they're willing to pay for it. But Andy, you're right on. I mean, people build that. That's what they liked and they enjoyed and loved it. And I mean, obviously it's looks like it's been very well cared for, but it's one of those things that maybe not everyone does. And they want their own. I'll tell you,
Chris, I see a lot of, I call it new money, kind of hey, now I'm a millionaire. I want to buy my status symbol house. And they build this house that's all about what they think is important in a house. Well, when you build that, you almost have to build it with the intention of knowing that you're going to lose money, because normal houses, let's call them the $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 houses that are the 5-bedroom, 5-bath, walkout 2 stories. A lot of people can afford that. Not a lot of people can afford $2 million. You are the top of the pyramid at that point. And to fit the top of the pyramid's taste is everybody has an opinion, right? So you're going to have that in that price range, a lot of different opinions. I always say this, and Chris, you and I have talked about this for years. People that buy over $1 million almost always sell those houses and feel like they took a haircut when they sold it. Not always, but a lot of them do, where they make it their own and they do all this customization, and then they go to sell it and they feel like, God, I took a $400,000 hit on that $2.7 million house, but they wanted it sold and they didn't care because they were moving on to the next. So different economics too. It's not a normal person's economics.
Great segment. Beautiful. Hey, I want to start doing another one highlighting Minnesota lakes, especially ones outside of the metro area. So Andy, you're the king of cabin life and fishing, and you know all about these lakes. So I'm going to throw one out on here, and it's going to be brought to you by Andy Prasky, Preferred Home Team.
Well, they said I could have 30 seconds on the show for a quick ad. Andy Prasky, Remax Advantage Plus, Andy@Prasky.com if you want to email us. Here's the thing, 22 years in the business, over 1,400 sales. I'd like to help you with your real estate needs. If that's buying, if that's selling, if that's building, whatever it is, give us a call, send us an email. Let's get you started on your real estate journey. I'd like to help you on the way. Lots of experience here, and I would like to put it to work for you. Andy Prasky, Remax Advantage Plus. Thanks for listening to the show. Look up.
Like Osakis or Osakis.
Alexandria, Andy.
What's that? Yeah, that is a famous lake known for the great grebe migration. Very rare bird in Minnesota. They migrate to this lake and they do their famous breeding dances. I don't know if you've ever, Chris, have ever seen that.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, for sure.
I know how you're a birdie. And, but Osakis is a very affordable lake, close to the Alexandria area. A lot of fun, a lot of converted resorts up there. So you have, like, for an example, they used to have a resort and now they sell off the cabins individually. So there's some very affordable lakefront fun there. Biggest challenges that they've had on that lake the last couple of years, pros and the cons, right? Affordability is wonderful. Fishing is wonderful. The bird watching is wonderful. Close to town is wonderful. A couple of years ago, a friend of mine that's on that lake actually had a bog the size of a football field that up and broke away and floated over. I don't know if you saw that on the news, Chris. Did you see that?
No.
So this bog that they literally
Oh, yeah, I did.
Yep.
Yeah.
They hooked 20 speedboats to it,
Yes.
pontoons, and they put, because the DNR said, I don't know, it's not our problem. So they hooked into this with all their anchors, like they threw their anchors onto it, and they, with all these boats, drug it away and put it out over towards the boat launch, and then they blocked the boat launch with this thing so that the DNR had to get it. I'm serious.
That's awesome.
It was a DNR problem now because the boat launch was, the public access was blocked, and that was pretty funny. Good for the little guy. Now that lake has had its challenges, like a lot of lakes over these last couple seasons, where some of these droughts are catching up with these lakes. Where I mean, people have to go out 100 yards from their house just to get to the dock that's deep enough to hold their pontoon on it. They can barely get off the lift. Yeah. And out in the middle, the lake doesn't get very deep, so there's a lot of shallow beds in there, and that's creating a lot of weed growth and things like that. But overall, man, I tell you what, if you want to get a pontoon, you want to go fishing, you want to go, there's a fun little restaurant up there I've never been to because my friends never take me, but Head of the Lakes up on the north end of the lake. Everybody wanders their way up there, and I guess it's a great place to have, a good time. So
how big is that lake?
It's huge. It's like 5,300 acres or something, or maybe even bigger than that. It's big.
5,300, really? Wow.
I think so.
Oh.
I could be wrong. My Googler that's in the background could help me with that. That'd be great.
Yeah, exactly. Is that? Oh, that's me.
Or Lisa.
Oh,
the one that just walked in the shot earlier today. Yeah, that's her.
Andy, what is the size of
Lake Osakis? Let me think here.
Think about this for a minute.
How much? 6,270. 6,200 acres.
I knew you knew that. Yeah. That's 3 times. God, that's 4 times Prairie Lake.
Yeah.
Wow.
You could have a lot of fun on that one.
Mm-hmm. Good information.
I've been out there numerous times boating. It's fun.
Thank you. Thank your statistician for us.
Thank you, statistician. Oh, and then the other thing is they always see celebrities at the tip top. The gal from last year that got in trouble with her kid. They were up at a hockey something up there, and this is a horrible story, Lisa. Who was that guy? Who was the girl that was up there? Huh? We'll Google that as well. They were having all these pictures of these celebrities that were at this tip top, which is a cute little like ice cream hamburger shop that closes. Actually, this it was
Taylor Swift.
Candace Cameron was up there last summer.
Candace, she's a Hallmark movie.
Yeah,
she
was on Full House too.
Yeah, I like her.
Candace likes Lake Osakis.
Oh, she does. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right, I think we're getting close to the end here, Andy.
We should be talking to our buddy Greg about this stuff. Greg's the one that knows everything about that area. I mean, he's dialed in.
Yeah,
he should be our correspondent. We should get him a microphone and a camera. And when we want to talk Alex, we get Greg out on the dock with the wind blowing, and I'm out here on the boat launch. Remember when we used to do Life with Fife?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
One
more talking about that.
You got to answer a questionnaire.
Okay.
Prepping to build on a lot in older subdivision. Neighbors on both sides are unhappy. What is the solution? Here's the full question. Let's knock this puppy out quick. Right here.
Andy, we both dealt with this. Bought the last lot in an old subdivision that was owned by the neighboring property. Previous owner passed, and family sold it to settle the estate. So we just started the process of clearing it. It was fully covered in trees and brush, so that's going to get the neighbors going. A neighbor on one side has surfaced periodically and offered to buy it at a lowball price. He wasn't willing to negotiate, so we said no. Tried talking to the neighbor on the other side about our plans and attempt to make friends and be sure they agreed with our survey. He was a jerk. It basically blew us off. Why are so many people entitled jerks? That's a good question. I get why they may be annoyed at the situation, but what do they expect to come of being ruthless? We have the right to build on the land we bought 100%. I can only imagine how fun this will be once the heavy machines move in and the build process actually begins. Might be easier then, actually.
A lot of times this is a role that we'll take with customers. We'll be the bad cop for you. So you hire the builder goes in there and says, oh, hey, you got to move your crap off the lot here. I know you've been dumping stuff here for 25 years, but you can't anymore. Hey, we're putting a fence up. Hey, we got to do the survey. And you let the cop, the kind of the builder become the bad cop, as I say, and then go in there, clear the trees. And I would say, you almost take the position of, I can't believe they removed all the trees. We asked them to save them. Boy, we really wanted this to be, and part of me says, who cares? The other thing I'd warn that person about, because this is usually why the last lot in the development, they can't compact or the soils were not corrected enough. They didn't pass the engineering test for buildability because it was loose dirt or fill, and it has to sit for a certain amount of years to compact. Some lots that I found in Golden Valley, I learned the hard way. We bought a lot. We were going to build a spec home on it. We got into this lot, and then we were reading through the fine print, and we were missing a page on the disclosure and the engineering data that stated that the lot actually had soft soils on it. That's why nobody's built on it. And we had to put 60-foot piers down to the bedrock, and it was another $180,000 to build the house on that lot. So we had to sue the seller. Seller, of course, said, whoops, I missed page 6, which had that data on it. And when I emailed you guys this information, weird. And so anyway, we got our money back.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Wow.
But buying the last lot, man, do your due diligence. Do not just buy it blind.
Yeah.
There's usually a reason why it's the last lot in the development. And it's sitting there for 20 or 30 years.
I do have another suggestion. Why don't you go back to both neighbors and offer them to buy it together and or split it up that way. And they'll both have bigger lots and they'll have their trees. But it is what it is.
Wouldn't you assume, Chris, that you owned an estate, the estate owned the lot? Why don't you just sell the whole thing as one then,
You always get more money separating them.
I get it, but I'm just saying, so now your new neighbor is your current buyer on the one side, I'm assuming, right? And the other, so you only have one other neighbor unless the one behind you. But
I don't know. It kind of sounded weird how that lot was set up because it sounded like there was 2 neighbors bordering the one lot. So maybe they were on the other side or something. It was kind of like a back lot.
I had a lot like that in Little Canada that we were doing a proposal for a guy where it went all the way through to the block behind. Yes. And they actually had like their old garages back there, like a shop. And the city says, hey, if we're going to build on here, you got to take the shop down. It's not compliant, whatever. So,
yep.
Releza, hey, great episode. That was a lot of fun. Everyone, click our link tree. Our websites are on there. Every place we put content on. Give us a like, write us a review, subscribe. And Andy's got Parade of Homes coming up.
Yeah, come see us coming up. It's the end. You got to get out there last weekend, guys. Get out there and pay cash for those houses.
Pay cash.
We need cash.
Straight cash, homie.
We are giving a 1% discount for cash. No, just kidding.
All right, everybody. Have a great day. See you next week.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Real Estate Radio Hour. Don't forget to visit our website, realestateradiohour.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, or your preferred podcast listening app. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes or sharing us with a friend. Until next time, stay awesome, Twin Cities.